I am Dr. Carl Matz. I'm a professor in educational studies at Minnesota State University in Mankato. This is the third of a three-part series of short videos focused on helping the struggling adolescent reader. In the first video, I talked about the disconnect, the reason that certain adolescent readers fall so far behind in reading. In the second video, I talked about the importance of teaching vocabulary, because if readers have to struggle with the surface text, that is the text on the page, they don't have the cognitive energy available to focus on the meaning. This time I would like to talk about some specific strategies, but with a caution. Teachers frequently come to me and ask, can you give me a bag of tricks? Well, they say that in their own words. Can you give me a bag of tricks for how to address this particular reader's problems? And the fact is, good teaching is good teaching. If you're going to teach somebody to drive a car, you teach them the same way regardless of how they learn, regardless of how intelligent they are, regardless of how much experience they have driving. If you're going to teach someone to dive off a diving board, you do it the same way. And the same thing is true with reading. There are no secret tricks for teaching those who have difficulty, but it is necessary sometimes to teach directly things that poorer readers don't learn intuitively. Good readers learn certain things intuitively. For example, good readers always set a purpose for reading. They know when they go into a reading task what they're reading for. They monitor their own comprehension. As they're reading, if something doesn't make sense, they're inclined to go back and check. Good readers also visualize. They make a picture in their head or a movie in their head of the thing that they're reading. These are things that they learn from lots and lots of experience with reading. And they're the kinds of things that poorer readers don't learn to do. So some of these things are things that we need to directly teach. Before I get into some of those direct strategies, I want to mention, probably in some cases it will just be a review of things you already know, but first of all, if you're going to help a reader to read, you need to know at what level they read. One easy way to do that is with Lexiles. There's a web page. You can certainly quickly find it by Googling Lexiles, spelled right there for you. If you give a child a book and the child can read that book successfully, you can go to that web page and find out what its Lexile score is. Now, if an 8th grader, for example, can't read anything but Frog and Toad Are Friends, you can go to the Lexile web page, find out the Lexile rating of Frog and Toad Are Friends, and find many other books that are at that same Lexile rating. You can also find books that are just a little bit more difficult, because if we're going to teach somebody how to read effectively, we need to, just like with physical endurance, challenge them just a little bit. Not so much that they become frustrated, but enough that that they can be successful with a little effort. The IRI is a good way of doing that. Most teachers who have studied reading at the graduate level have learned how to do informal reading inventories. And what the informal reading inventory does is it provides, first of all, with a word list, a thumbnail idea of where that reader reads. And then based on that, you read several passages and calculate the kinds of errors they make, the number of errors they make in per 100 words, and you get a sense of what their independent reading level is, what their instructional reading level is, that is the level at which they can read with some assistance, and what their frustration level is, and that is the level at which they are so severely challenged that they cannot successfully read. And of course it is from that you determine what their strengths and weaknesses are and what to teach effectively. And it's different for each child. You may discover that a kid needs a lot of help with high frequency vocabulary. You may discover that they need to learn specific strategies. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. Those things that are intuitive to good readers are not intuitive to poor readers, so we need to directly teach them. And one of the things we need to directly teach is text structures. We need to give children, to help them become aware of how texts are organized and what to expect from texts. Text structures simply refers to things like this is organized chronologically, this is organized sequentially because it's a list of instructions, this is organized with cause and effect, this is a fictional story, so we look at the beginning, middle, and end and how the character grows, what we call the arc, how the character grows from the beginning to the end and comes to a greater awareness or understanding of the situation that has been a problem for him in the novel or in the short story. So it's essential to directly teach these things. A study strategy of SQ3R, again, this is something that's very common and widely known in reading, stands for survey, question, read, reread, read, repeat, reread, or read, review, reread. Basically, it just means that, okay, I have to read this chapter. If I survey first, go through it and read the subheadings, etc., captions, look at the pictures, charts, graphs, etc., then ask myself some questions. What is it that this is attempting to tell me? What are some of the details that are necessary for me to know in order to understand the, etc.? And then read, and then review. After I read it, I review it and say, okay, what did I not get? And then reread. And if I didn't get something and I reread it, I'm going to understand it much better. Now, the thing with this is that it means, first of all, that they have to learn how to look through the passage that they're reading 3 different times. And they have to stop and actually consciously ask themselves questions. It's not going to come by telling them once. It's something that has to be modeled and repeated and repeated and repeated. Like anything else we teach children, it sort of has to become internalized, and it means lots of repetition, lots of reminders until it finally does become internalized. Adolescent readers have difficulty with comprehension for 2 things. First of all, they might simply lack sufficient fluency as they're reading to make any sense of what they're reading. They might be fluent enough, but they lack the comprehension strategies. For example, they don't know how to generate questions as they read, or they don't know how to summarize, or they don't know how to clarify those things that seem unclear to them. And what is even more common, I think, is that they're able to do certain comprehension strategies with fiction, but they can't make that transition to content. And it is the content reading that is the most challenging for them because of the specialized vocabulary, because of the advanced concepts that they may not have the prior knowledge to approach and to understand. But since comprehension is the soul of reading, the thing we need to do is teach children to generate questions, to answer their own questions, or to first of all identify the questions that they have about a thing, and then to seek the answers to those questions that they ask themselves. We need to teach them to monitor their own comprehension, because this is something that good readers may learn to do intuitively, but poor readers do not. So we need to model it and model it and model it until it becomes internalized for them. For example, the teacher might read aloud a newspaper article with the headline, "It's do or die time for the Kiwis." But the teacher needs to vocalize her own or his own internal thinking, her internal dialogue. I'm confused. I thought kiwi was a kind of fruit. How can kiwi fruit have a do or die time? Maybe farmers are having trouble growing kiwi fruit. I need to read more to find out if I'm right. Now, what's interesting about this is that a lot of the elementary basals actually give the teacher the script for doing this. I have one here. The teacher reads aloud the next sentence of the article. Although they're 0-4, the Kiwi curlers may still have winnable games against Germany and Italy. Oh, I get it. Curling must be some kind of sport because it talks about winnable games. And a score of 0-4. I don't really know anything about curling, but I do know this article is about sports, and Kiwi is the name of one of the teams. Oh, this article must have something to do with the Olympics, because I know the Olympics are going on right now, and it says that the Kiwi team is playing against other countries, like Germany and Italy. We also need to teach children skills like how to summarize text, and the only way to do that is to give them short texts and have them retell. Give them short texts and have them retell. And this is something you can do and should do with everyone in the class, not just the readers who have difficulty. The issue is that in a whole class situation, the poor readers rarely get called on. So the teacher needs to constantly remember that the good readers don't need as much instruction in comprehension strategies as poorer readers do. So the poor readers are the ones that need to be called on the most, and when possible, worked on in small groups. And so again, the teacher needs to identify what the strategy is, in this case summarizing, and talk through the thinking strategy for how do I rethink what I just read, and model that constantly for the students. Again, good teaching is good teaching. If you're a good teacher and you know how to read, you probably have all the skills you need to teach a reluctant reader. What you probably lack is the time, or you may lack the materials. One thing that I really recommend, and I'm sorry if you have to buy it with your own money, it's actually worth it. If you're working with poorer readers, one of the things you might want to consider is Jamestown Publishing. I love the stuff by Jamestown Publishing. It's high interest, low vocabulary, and the thing that's great about it is that most poor readers, like if you have an 8th grade reader who reads at a 3rd grade level, he's not going to want to carry around books with fuzzy bunnies and kitties on it. These can be photocopied, and they don't look stupid. They look like real reading, and they come with everything you need to extend the child's reading experience. This particular one is Phenomena. They have dozens of them. This one is called Disasters. Again, high interest, low vocabulary, and the kind of thing that doesn't make students feel embarrassed to walk down the hall with it in their bundle of books or whatever. The key to teaching any reader is, first of all, make sure they have the text strategies that they need, that they can attack the text, unlock the code, recognize the words that they have to recognize. The more we can liberate their cognition, their cognitive energy, the more energy they will have available for comprehension. If they have to struggle with the text, they have nothing left to comprehend. If they don't have to struggle with the text, then they have what they need to comprehend, but it does not come automatically. We have to teach them how to do it. We have to know the level at which they read. We have to know the skills and strategies that they lack in order to, simply identify what it is this child needs to learn and teach them better. Again, I understand the issue for most teachers, especially secondary teachers, is when do I have the time to do this with 1 or 2 struggling readers, and where do I get the materials? Always the problem. No easy answer to that. The answers, I suppose, will be specific to your particular situation. I hope that these 3 videos have been useful to you. I repeat with some chagrin, there is no secret weapon or secret bag of tricks or strategies that great teachers don't know that they need to learn in order to teach reluctant readers. If you're a good teacher and you know how to read, you have what you need to teach a reluctant reader. It's just a matter of knowing the procedures and the steps, and I've tried to kind of give an idea of that. I hope this has been useful to you. I no doubt you're going to have to find other help elsewhere if you're working with reluctant adolescent readers. And all I can wish you is the best of luck. You're underappreciated in what you do. If you can open the mind of an adolescent reader and make that child a learner when the child wasn't before, that's your monument to your excellent career. I know that all of you have changed children's lives. Congratulations for that, and thank you very much. I hope this has been helpful, and best of luck to you.